Hello and welcome to the Clark Blue Podcast preview show. This is our Inside Bodymore episode as John Townley has been inside Bodymore this afternoon, and I'm going to try and learn to speak for the first start of this podcast. John, how's things, mate? You all
Can't
right?
speak. Yeah, good. Thanks, Dan. Looking forward to tomorrow. Chance to get successive league wins for the first time since September, which is actually quite a long. That's a while ago
A lot
now.
of games.
Nearly the new year. So, yeah. Obviously, a big win in the week. I did not care how we got over the line against Brentford, but it wasn't actually like that. I was saying after the pressure in those little videos that I do that, actually, if you watch the game back, Villa, played pretty well and should have scored a lot of goals, and also weren't really troubled by Brentford, actually, considering Martinez was in pain during the match with his finger. He went through the pain barrier to play for us, and there was going to be some jitters after Brentford scored the goal, but actually I think that was just because last season we shipped 3 goals in like 10 minutes, and it was pretty comfortable, really. I don't think it was by anywhere near like our best level, but we should have scored more than we did. And yeah, it's kind of the perfect way to go into the weekend and playing Southampton. I'm going to kind of resist saying like they're bottom of the league and they've been struggling because of Sheffield United last season. I'm not going to go down there. I'm just going to call them Southampton. That's all.
But before we get into this, our number one fan, the first comment through, Dan Bardell, simply says, "I like your little beard," which could be directed at either of us. We've both got a few hairs now. Thanks, Dan. I like yours too. I like your little Christmas hat that you wore on Monday. No spoilers to the Christmas special. That was good fun, wasn't it, John?
Yeah. I was going to make a joke then, but I can't because that probably ruins it. So yeah, it's all good. I'm going to shave actually after this, and you probably can't even tell that I've got anything here. But because of Leipzig, I'm flying on Sunday, getting a couple of connecting flights, and I'm not going to get there till late at night. But ready for the pressure on Monday. So I need to, after this, basically shoot off quickly back home, close to the airport. Well, that's on Sunday, but then Saturday I've got a game. So yeah, very busy, and I need to pack later as well. So I need to remember to do lots of things, not forget my passport, all that stuff, even though the game is like next week, like in the distance. But I've got to think about doing all those little things at once. So, yeah.
Have you got your €1 and your gloves?
I do. I was packing a couple of things last night, and I found €4 from wherever I was last, whoever we played. Bruges, was it? Was it Bruges? Yeah. Feels like ages ago now. Yeah, and I added the €1 that Matt gave me. I wore my gloves. Does that give it away? Kind of. Maybe should have said that. I wore those on Wednesday night as well. So, yeah.
Did you actually wear them? You wore the gloves that Matt got you for, did you?
Yeah, they came in handy.
No pun intended. Right, let's get into the meat and bones of this. We'll start with the presser. That's what we're all here for. You've been to Bodymore Heath this afternoon. What was Emery like? Was he in festive spirit yet?
So I was looking at Dan's comment then. Yeah, you probably can't tell. I have a little bit of stubble. Unai, yeah, he was good today. I think it was maybe in the last preview show that we did before Brentford that it was a bit less, I don't know how to quite put it, but it was a bit more sort of like not down, but obviously we'd lost a few games, hadn't won in 8. This time he felt a bit more upbeat. Obviously we've got the win that we needed, and we're going into a game that we are obviously favourites for, and I think that does bring kind of fresh optimism among the players as well. Everything that I've heard anyway, they're in good spirits, relishing the opportunity to kind of put things right after a difficult period. Got the win against Brentford, as I say, and now they can kind of look forward, look ahead, fresh start almost. If they win against Southampton, I think they go 5th at least for a couple of hours. I think Forest play United and late kick-off, and obviously there's no guarantee that Forest get a result at Old Trafford, but I think it's mainly actually the Brighton game against Leicester. I think that's the Sunday match. If Brighton win that, then obviously we stay below them, but if we win and they fail to beat Leicester obviously got a new manager, got a good result in the week as well against West Ham. You never know. We'll stay 5th until next weekend against Forest. So definitely an incentive to, everything that's happened. We haven't lost any ground really at all on the teams around us. I think Chelsea look strong for a top 4 finish this season. They're playing in Europe, but their best 11 isn't essentially. And I think early on, I said to you, Danny, we did a video a couple of months ago now, kind of assessing where we are in the table and why our expectations shouldn't be like too high. I think it's because Chelsea look pretty strong. Arsenal were in a bad moment. Now they're title contenders again all of a sudden. Liverpool are obviously doing really well. Man City. You can't, keep them down for long. So hopefully the coefficient goes in our favour this year. You're thinking it will, because there isn't a Newcastle and Man United situation where teams are just going to drop out of Europe completely. Chelsea should win the Conference League. I know we said this last year, but really. And yeah, Champions League teams not going down to the Europa League, so United and Tottenham could have a bit of a run as well. We hopefully Liverpool look good. City, yeah. So hopefully 5th is Champions League, and then that goes all the way down to 8th to Conference League, 7th to Europa League. So Villa are in a good position at the moment for me. But obviously, yeah, just focus on Southampton. We need to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've spoken a little bit about other teams, getting the odd strange result here and there. And the ones that happened on Thursday night weren't particularly strange, but, Brighton lost to Fulham at Fulham, which obviously can happen. Yeah. Fulham are decent at home, but Bournemouth beating Tottenham as well, which again can happen. Bournemouth are a good side, and kind of Spurs have dropped points, but Bournemouth are right on our tails as well. Yeah. So that middle period of 4th to 10th or maybe even slightly below is still so congested. And I'm not saying those two results in isolation are strange, but they both came on the same night after Villa had already won their fixture that midweek as well. So things drop and change very quickly. Things will look very different again at the weekend if we don't win and some of the others do. But you've got to just put everything and focus onto yourself to say we can, and dare I say should be beating Southampton at Villa Park.
Yeah. You're right. The table is very congested still, and it feels like those sort of middling clubs, with all due respect. It's very respectable for Bournemouth, to be fair, from where they've come from. But those teams, the level seems to have gone up a lot. I don't know about the bottom of the league, to be fair. I think that's always going to be difficult for any club that's being promoted into the Premier League from the Championship. You have to spend loads of money, and even then, you're going to struggle. But it feels like there's a lot of traffic around that middle part of the league. And I'm not too worried about that, because we have the manager, obviously, that's been in Europe for 16, 17 years now and is more than capable of getting us there again. And we've finished 4th last season, 4th best team in England since he arrived, over 70 games, etc. So we have the consistency in us. It's about now, just as I said before, putting a few results right and finishing the season strong, because we're still going to have to do well in this middle period of the campaign, kind of 2/3 the way through the season. We're still going to have to do well. But it feels like we're going to have to put results together at the end of the campaign, as I say, because we started well, obviously, but we've gone, a fair stretch without getting some good results. But as I mentioned, we haven't lost much ground, so I'm pretty content with where we are, even though it's been 2 wins in 9 league games, which sounds really bad. And I think if you said that last season, in the summer, that you're going to go on that run of form, you'd like to have thought we got lots of good results before then, and after then we've done the before bit. Now we have to push on and make up for it, essentially.
Yeah, okay. Let's go and talk about some injuries then. Not massive amounts of change, really. Ramsey and Onana are the two. There's a question in the comments from James who says, how long is Onana out for, do you think? Did Emery put a time frame on it?
Not necessarily. They did some light work today, and and I think it's more likely he plays against, or is in the squad, for Leipzig. I think it's the same situation that we found ourselves in last week for the who did we play last weekend, Dan? Completely forgotten.
Chelsea,
yeah. He was in contention to be in the squad for that match if he got through the session and was okay. That didn't happen, and then he wasn't in contention to play at all against Brentford. But now we're back to where we were against Chelsea. He could be in the squad. Onana, this is against Southampton, but it doesn't feel like a game that we need to rush him back for, if I'm being perfectly honest. So wouldn't be shocked if he's not in the squad. And then we see him maybe for Leipzig. If not, then Nottingham Forest on the weekend. So Ramsey's still weak. Yeah, Ramsey's still weeks away. So 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. Hopefully he can get back as soon as he can. I think he's running again, is what Unai said today. I think that's what he said. Or he's stepped it up, basically. So that's positive. It's a hamstring injury, though, and we know Ramsey struggled with injuries recently. And I say recently, over the last year. We need to make sure he's ready, fit and raring to go when he does come back.
It's a really frustrating one, isn't it, Jacob Ramsey? Because, this is not true. He's not missed an entire year's worth of football, but it feels like he's basically been injured for a year. From that injury he got in the England under-21s, was that last summer?
Yeah, it was Conceição, who had a very good game for Juventus, that injured him.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah. It was.
I didn't realise. Anyway, yeah, that's really frustrating to have him kind of, like I say, he's not been unavailable for a year, but it feels like that. And then when he does come back, it's always a bit of a ticking time bomb for how long before he's out again. And we could really do with him as well, couldn't we? It would be a really useful addition to the side. So to not have him, and now for it to be, weeks, whatever the definition of that might be, even if it is only 2 or only 3 at this particular point of the year, that could be 6 matches. And that's quite a long time.
Exactly. And, Rodgers basically has to be playing through these games. I know Emery spoke about Buendia. I asked him directly, can you give Rodgers a rest? And can you afford to give him a rest? Does he need a rest? Not all of those questions like that, but you get my point. And he was the one who said himself, Buendia is a player that now is going to have to step up in case he needs that rest. And he will need a rest, Rodgers. I think he needs one probably now. I know he scored that great goal against Brentford, but I think he basically, when he got called up for the senior squad, there was already the kind of thought that, okay, he needs to not be called up for the 21s because he's close not to getting an injury, but he's on that, what all the staff at different football clubs now have. They have, kind of data on how close they are to kind of that red zone. Rodgers was very, very close. So he needed to come out of the firing line altogether. But then he got the senior call up. No one's going to take him out when that happens. And obviously he was training then. He played both matches for a decent portion of both as well against Greece and I think it was Ireland. So yeah, he needed a rest. Don't know if that's the case now, whether they've kind of stripped back his training. I'm not too sure. But Buendia is the next in line, and I'm not trying to say that Buendia isn't capable, but obviously you'd rather have an option like Ramsey, a 50-60 million pound player, who can kind of take that load off Rodgers, come off earlier in matches or start ahead of him, and then Rodgers can make an impact. You want 2 players per position, and we have that in Buendia, but as I said in previous episodes, I'm not too sure if Emery does count on him. He said that, he's basically ready now to contribute and he can count on him. But I think I said before, if he's not going to do that in this month, I can't see a reason why Villa wouldn't let him leave on loan in January, especially at the end of the window when we would have had all the busy fixtures. Obviously, you have Champions League football and Premier League football after that, but we've just shown that we can get through it up until now anyway, pretty much unscathed. We've obviously had injuries, but I think for the most part, we've had a pretty good ride with it, and we have a squad that's capable of dealing with injuries as and when they happen.
The comment here from Tutor Nick, who says, Dan and John, hopefully we've turned the corner now and can put a few wins together and get back into the top 6. I'm enjoying John's summaries after the game. I like the walk and talk style. Come back to that in a sec. By the way, Dan, I bought a 2-year subscription with NordVPN with your discount, and it worked well when I was in Spain recently. Cheers for the deal. It's a perfect time to drop in the advert for the NordVPN deal. For those that are listening, if you're watching, you can have an advert for something else. Decide what YouTube gives you. John, the walk and talks, pretty popular, aren't they, those?
I've no idea, to be fair, but
yeah, doing well.
Yeah, I don't know why I started doing them probably like last season. I think it must have been after a win, and I thought like, I need to talk to myself
just
about
talk to somebody, yeah.
Or no one, just to myself, and then I'll put it out. Yeah, I don't know. I need to walk and talk at the same time. I'm definitely no broadcaster, and you can probably tell that when I'm sitting down here and kind of, stuttering over my words and stuff. But when I talk, I still do that, but I feel like it's easier to get my ideas out, essentially. I'm a bit of a fidgeter and stuff, so I don't know if it comes from that. I need to walk and get my ideas across there rather than sitting down and spinning on a chair like I am and drinking my water bottle.
Yeah, you've been doing that.
Glad you enjoy it, Shooter Nick. Thanks for saying that. That's nice
you've been doing them quite a while, and they've been popping up on Twitter or whatever social media platform is the go-to these days after every game. And you said after Chelsea, try uploading it to YouTube, which I was a little bit, I questioned it, John. I questioned it. I thought, is this because our content is podcast, it's long form. A 5-minute video of you walking back to your car is very different. But it did really well. We tried it again for Southampton. No, Brentford. That did reasonably well as well. So
reasonably well.
Less well than Chelsea. The novelty wore off after the first one.
Yeah. I don't want to say it's throwaway content because no one will watch it then, but it's, I've done the
you're
video,
doing it anyway, so
feel
it's worth uploading for people who aren't on a certain social media.
It's only, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's only Twitter that allows you to upload like a decent sized video. Maybe I've got that wrong. So,
that's right.
If you're not on Twitter, which a lot of people aren't these days, and I don't blame you, then it's there if you wanted to watch it.
Yeah, we'll try it again after Southampton. It's always easy when it's a win, same as the podcast, isn't it? Yeah, much easier to talk about things.
With anything,
it's easier. It's nicer to do it, I suppose. There's plenty of talking points when we've lost, but it's nicer to talk about a win. Injuries we've done. Opposition view, we don't have anything specifically. All right, John, let it go. Just Southampton generally. What do you make of them? There's a lot of talk of like the Vincent Kompany model for Russell Martin to kind of show that you can play a certain style of football, have certain ideas in the hope that the team you're with may not be very good, which is kind of counterintuitive and may get relegated, but you'll go on to get a different job somewhere else at a different level. Kompany going from Burnley to Bayern Munich, which is quite the rise. Is that a kind of thing that you can see, or is this just Southampton are naive and not very good?
No, I definitely think the first part's true, and I don't blame Russell Martin for that. Really, he's got to look after his own interests essentially, and I think if he went for a different style and got relegated, kind of so what? Really, he might get another job in the Championship. But the Kompany thing really has. That's a problem now for promoted clubs because those managers, some will adapt, some won't. And to be fair, I do admire Martin's kind of trust in his own ideas because I think he said it before.
Would you think that if you're a Southampton fan, though? You're thinking like,
no, not at all.
Head of the club?
Yeah, I think they would think that, but I'm not a Southampton fan, so I don't. No, I don't know. You said before about what's the point in having a plan B, which is basically just something that you haven't worked on before and it's just a fluke. You may as well try and nail the one thing that you're trying to be good at. And they're trying to do 1-2s with the centre backs and midfielders when it's, again, no disrespect, but it's Jack Stevens and another player, and it's not whoever Kompany has, Upamecano or Min-Jae. So I think they'll get relegated. I don't know what manager would go into there if Martin was to get sacked and they'd get much more out of the players. It would be a different way of playing, and maybe they'd scrap the way to winning some matches, but it definitely helps, I think, some teams to play against them. I was watching the first 15 minutes with Jacob, Villa's athletic reporter, and he's a Southampton fan, sorry, for those who don't know. And I was kind of warned about their potential struggles in the summer by Jacob, who told me a lot about their brand of football and how they would probably get crucified in the Premier League if they did certain things, and they have for the most part. I know they've got a couple of results, but really they can be cut adrift at the bottom of the table if they're not careful in the next few weeks. But like Chelsea, they played well for 15 minutes. They got back to level terms and they could have gone ahead with a couple of chances they had. And then Lumley just gives the ball to a Chelsea player, and then from there a red card, silly error from Stevens, or say silly error. He pulled Cucure's hair and got a red card. So it kind of smacks of a team that will be in trouble all season. And again, how that looks, whether that's them playing out from the back or doing it differently under a different manager, Villa have to get 3 points on Saturday, and I think they will. But as I said at the top of the show, we need to be wary because this is exactly how I felt when we played Sheffield United. Very different in terms of how I think the game will go and how it will look. Villa might not even have more possession of the ball than Southampton because they tend to keep it, obviously, from the way that they play. And Sheffield United don't. They absorb pressure. And to be fair, even in that game, Villa should have had a couple of penalties and things didn't go quite their way. But definitely going to be no kind of underestimating Southampton. I think that would be the key message from Emery to his players as well. Look what happened last season, and we were even better at that point last season. If we won that, I think we would have spent Christmas top of the league. Yeah, which would have been remarkable. I remember I basically scripted my match report and everything was already done for that event. Didn't happen. Obviously, Zanni only got a draw in the end, but it felt like we
It's like the Friday night.
Yeah. I don't know, to be honest.
I think we played it before everyone else, and it was like we can just go top, and it doesn't matter what the rest of the weekend happens. I think that was true. Doesn't
Possibly, matter. Yeah, but massive missed opportunity that was.
Yeah. Okay, let's do away from match day next. Opportunity to talk about something not related to Southampton, and this is a little bit. I mean, it still is kind of related to Southampton in a way because Tyrone Mings may well play tomorrow. I think he probably will, and we'll get to our predicted 11 in a sec. But it's more just a wider point, more so for you, I suppose, because we did the post-match podcast on Wednesday of a bit of love for Tyrone Mings. His first Premier League start since Newcastle last year when he got injured. Played very well, man of the match contender, and he's back now. Like ready to go, fit, like looks good. Like none of these doubts of like, is he going to be the same player afterwards? So I know. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, I resisted the urge to speak about this sort of thing when he picked the ball up in the box against Bruges. There was a massive, I don't know how quite to put it, but there was obviously a lot of backlash to that. I mean, it's a backlash, that's the wrong word. There was a lot of kind of, not hate, but like, oh, Mings, he switched off again. We can't trust him. Like, I think I gave you a voice note actually after the game, Dan, and you essentially advised me not to say it because it might rub people the wrong way. And I will say it, and maybe it will still, but I was loath to criticise him because it was a stupid error, but one that he'll never make again in his career. And in the game, I actually thought he had a really good game, but you couldn't talk about it. It was Mings' second appearance. I think it was his second start. He did well against Palace and we conceded twice, but individually he played well. Against Bruges, I think he played well considering the bad injury he's had. So I wasn't shocked at all that he played well against Brentford, and I'm not trying to be like wise after the event because no one predicted Mings, I think, to be kind of hitting, not quite hitting form, but kind of hitting the ground running essentially. I don't know if you can do that as a centre back, but you get my point. After this really long injury, I think he's had 3 really solid games, including Bruges. I kind of ignore the handball incident because it was just a complete, freak of an accident, and he would have felt terrible afterwards. So for him personally, I'm really happy that he's kind of, don't know, he's not kind of like made amends for it because, can't quite link the two, but we've seen that he is, ready to absolutely contribute. And he spoke in the mix zone after the match against Brentford about how actually there were times where he genuinely thought like, am I actually going to get back to be playing football and to play at any sort of level? And that is something that, might not surprise people, to be fair, knowing now about how difficult that injury was. We're not talking just an ACL like Buendia and Kamara. He had all sorts of surgeries and setbacks along the way. It's been a really, really long road. He couldn't really begin his rehab until later on after his surgeries. Some of the stuff that he said on the Ben Foster Foscast as well was quite like, wow, you don't really think about these things, and especially for an athlete as well. Mings, I remember one video that he put out, and I think it was just the caption was like identity or something, or it was crossed out. I can't remember, but you're just stripped of everything that you are essentially in that moment because you're just completely, can't think of the right word, but you're not able to do what you are known to be. Your identity is essentially gone. So that must have been really difficult for him to deal with from a mental point of view. And we know he's had struggles before. But I'm, really happy to see him back. I'm not going to say back to his best because it's only been one Premier League game, but we saw the difference he made. He was devastated not to keep a clean sheet. I think that would have, topped the night sort of thing. Coming back, helping Villa win after 8 games without a victory. And a clean sheet would have been, really good. But unfortunately, didn't manage it. I, for one, don't think he'll play against Southampton just because he's kind of getting back into the groove. And
you don't think he'll play, did you say?
No, just a guess. That's not okay.
Let's do predicted 11. We're here now. Let's just do it. I think it's pretty straightforward that Mings plays again.
I don't know this as information, but he was very tight after the Brentford match. A lot, by the way. I know we did injury news earlier, but Emery did say, I should have mentioned this, completely forgot. He did say there's a few doubts in the team and that a few players have got pain, and it's a situation where kind of, I wouldn't be surprised if 1 or 2 players dropped out and a couple came in, but that's okay because I shouldn't say this after everything I've said about Southampton, but it's only Southampton. Shouldn't have said it, but you get what I'm saying. I just think with Torres, you have a player there who, he's incredibly good with the ball. I don't think we necessarily need Mings. He's like, what she's considered a set piece now. I don't think we need his kind of power. I think that's something we need against Brentford, who put balls in the box and are aggressive. I don't think we'll necessarily need that more than we need Torres' ability on the ball, is what I'm trying to say. If Mings starts, then fine. I'm not underplaying what Mings can do with the ball at all. It's a very underrated part of his game, especially because we always compare him to Torres, when actually I would suggest that Mings' defensive ability is better than Torres' ability compared to Mings on the ball, if that makes sense. Like the gap is more. Do you get what I'm trying to say? If you compare Mings and Torres' ability with the ball, that's kind of less than
like a 10 and a 7, whereas their defending capabilities are like a 10 and a 3 or something.
The difference, I've worded it wrong, but you get what I'm trying to say. You'd miss Mings' defensive ability more than you'd miss Torres's. Jesus, I can't talk. Passing ability when Mings is playing is what I'm trying to say. basically, I think Torres will come back into the team. And again, that's kind of based on him being ready because he was carrying some bits as well. Maybe that's why Mings came into the side. But either one basically for this match, I'm okay with it. If we were playing Brentford, not Brentford, we just played them, but if we're playing a team similar to that, who, are aggressive, they put balls in the box and they're going to test you from a different point of view. I want Mings because defensively we did look more secure against Brentford, but I don't think the ball will come off the ground against Southampton.
Yeah, I think if Tyrone Mings can do kind of Pau Torres light, can't he? He can progress the ball, he can ping passes around, but probably not as good as Pau Torres can. But
it's
Pau
absolutely
Torres
adequate,
is nowhere near as good as a defender, aerially, physically, as
that's my point.
Tyrone Mings is. Yeah. There's a lot of talk. I don't know whether I asked you this before, whether it was Matt. So if it was you, tell me it was you, and we'll move on. A lot of talk about kind of a back three, Konsa, Mings, and Torres all playing together. Not quite sure. Or Pau Torres playing midfield. Can Pau Torres play midfield?
No, not for me. No, it's a completely different position, different passing angles, different observations. You've got to play behind you,
isn't it? An awareness, there's something going on all around
it's
you.
Completely different, yeah. Torres' own the reason why it's so progressive, I think. I don't want to underplay it, but it's very different. He puts his studs on the ball and invites pressure. If you're doing that in midfield, you lose the ball. Or he's not going to be as progressive because he'll feel like he has to go back. It's a complete in that double pivot. I'm fine with Kamara not just looking for a forward pass all the time, retaining possession and linking with teammates. That's the key thing. Then Torres can progress it and find teammates further forward with more time, essentially, to pick his pass. So no, wouldn't want to see Torres in midfield, if we're being perfectly honest. I've said before I want to see Kamara, Mings, and Torres as a three. And then you've got your two wing backs, double pivot, and three forwards. I think that's something that I'd like to explore, or Emery to explore even. But I think we're in a good place defensively at the moment. Now that Mings is back, we look, like we've got different options. Obviously, Carlos is the only one that we're kind of questioning. Does he have a future? Even in January, maybe Villa will look to shuffle a few things around if the right player becomes available. Obviously, PSR concerns and stuff. So we're going to have to do a couple of things before we can buy, essentially.
I know we're going to wrap up in a sec, but just a follow-up question, because I know PJJ won't be alone. There'll be other people who think Pau Torres can play midfield. He says he can learn to adapt, can't he, Torres?
Yeah, maybe, but we have Kamara, Onana, Ross Barkley, Yuri Tielemans. I really don't see
you learn to play a position?
Yeah, you probably can. And do we have 3 years to do it?
That's what I mean.
I don't think Torres can do it in 5 games. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, it's not for me. It's a completely different position, and you want your holding midfielder to be able to nip into tackles, be strong defensively. I think that's. I don't want to. It sounds like I don't rate Torres at all, but I don't think that's what he is. He's not going to put in a foot and get around midfield and press opponents. I think it's maybe he could play in midfield for another team and do a different role, like I don't know. Iborra, for example, for Olympiacos, he doesn't get around the pitch very well, but he's very sturdy and knows what he wants. And Emery played him. I think actually that Vincente Iborra played more games than anyone under Emery in his career, or something like that, or it's Benega, not sure. But he's a very different midfielder. Maybe that's something that Torres is more like, but in this structure and how Emery wants to do it, I'd be shocked if randomly it's now. Maybe in pre-season, that's something he looks into. No idea, but I don't think he would.
No, I agree, but you never know. All right, score prediction time then. Whilst we write ours down on a piece of paper or our phones, a little bit of waffle for you. Chelsea, no points. I predicted us to go there and win. Felt quite positive. You went with a draw. We obviously lost 3-0, 0 points. For Brentford, we didn't actually do a score prediction, but we discussed this on there before we started. Easy to say after the event, what would we have said? I think if we're in the position of doing a preview where we're always largely positive, we were both calling it a must-win game. So we both agreed we'd probably say we would win, but I don't think either of us would have truly said 3-1. So I think a point for getting it right that we won. Easy to say afterwards, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, okay. So that puts us on 5 points for me and 4 points for you after 14 Premier League games. I mean, you're not going to get them all right, but it's 3 points for a correct scoreline. So 52 points available, I think, if that's quick maths. Even if you just got every outcome right every game, that'd be 14 points. So the fact that we're on 5 and 4 shows you that our predictions are wildly off it. or that Villa haven't been very good because we often predict Villa to win and we're not on many points because Villa haven't won many games.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Score prediction then for Southampton. Are you ready?
Yeah, I feel like we might go the same again. But
I don't think you'll put what I've put.
Okay.
I'd be amazed if you put what I've put.
What is it? 1-0, 2-0, 3-0?
3, 2, 1.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. You've gone a little bit more adventurous than I thought. 3-0 for John, 5-0 for me. One of those ones that, do I really believe we'll win 5-0? Probably not. But can I see it? Absolutely. Because if Villa start quickly, which is hugely important, why not? I feel like we probably could have scored 5 against Brentford. So I know it's a totally different game and they are better than Southampton and the game did not go that way. But we had chances to score and we probably should have taken those chances. And I just feel like maybe this is over the top easy analysis. They're not very good and can crumble. If we do score 2-0 in the first 15 minutes, why can't we score another 3?
Yeah, I think if we get in at half-time with the lead...
Do you think we'd set off a bit?
Yeah, I just think, in transitions we're strong. We haven't had the opportunity that much this season because we've rarely found ourselves in a strong lead. I think if we get to 1, which we can do, then I'm with you. We could blow them away. We haven't done that.
3-0 is a good scoreline of like blowing somebody away.
Yeah. I'd rather, I don't know how to say this, I'd rather win 2-0 than win 5-2 though, because I think a clean sheet is important just for, for different things. We've kept 1 clean sheet in 19 league games, I think, which is pretty dreadful, really, considering the level we're trying to get to, or the level that we have been at as well last season. Southampton have had 5 shots on target combined in all their away games this season in the first half. That's a really... Did you get what I'm saying? In the first half, they only had 5 shots. Yeah. So in first halves, they're essentially not very good, and they try to keep the ball and probably stifle their opponents because this is away games I'm talking about, and kind of, kill it a little bit and make
frustrate the crowd.
Yeah. So we'll have that to deal with. I'm not sure how many goals they've conceded in the first half. Probably quite a lot because they're not, as I say, they're not a great side. But their plan will be to keep the ball, to take the sting out of the game, and to make a moment where they can advance and cause us problems, obviously. But yeah, I'd fancy a chances to score at least twice. You just hope that we can do it comfortably. As I say, an early goal would be nice, and then we can hit them on transitions. They can have the ball if they like, that sort of thing. But if we make it difficult for ourselves and don't take chances, and we're getting into half-time goalless or whatever it may be, and we have a bit of a job to do, that gives Southampton the incentive then to essentially continue to take the sting out of the game. I think we want them to come on to us a bit. They'll leave spaces at the back. They'll obviously have a few players coming back. Downs, Dibbling, and another player. I'm not sure. Stevens is obviously missing. But yeah, they've got, Lumley and goal, and we'll have chances for sure. We just need to take them.
Yeah, and that's why I think we might score 5. We will see, won't we, John? Yeah. We will see. I think we both agree. Well, I think we'll all be in agreement that Villa will win. I don't think there'll be many Villa fans out there predicting Villa not to win. I mean, there'll be some, obviously, but I think for the most part, everyone is expecting us to win. John, thank you very much for joining me on this Friday evening for the match preview. It'll be Matt Kendrick and me for the post-match show tomorrow afternoon, 6:30, 7 o'clock, something like that. Depends what time we both get back from the stadium. So do join us then if you can. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Clark Blue Podcast, and we'll see you tomorrow. Cheers, everyone. Up the Villa.